All right, high rollers, we are about to go prime time. Our guest today is one of professional darts' true personalities. Last I checked, he is ranked number 69 in the world. I feel he's heading in the right direction, onwards and upwards. It's been a steady climb for him since joining the PDC. A winner on the Challenge Tour, twice he's reached the last 32 at the UK Open, and this past year made his debut at the Ali Pally. If you haven't checked out his YouTube channel yet, you must. It's Darting Gold, Edgar TV. He is at the Edgar 501 on Twitter. I'm a big fan of this guy. Primetime Matthew Edgar, our guest today. Matthew, great to have you, man. Thanks for being our high roller today.
Yeah, it's a great introduction. I didn't think TV Gold would go down for Edgar TV, but I'll take it.
It's in the eye of the beholder. I think it's Darting Gold. I really love it. Well, we're going to talk about the channel in a second, but I'm wondering if I can start with the Players' Championship Finals from last year. You drew Michael Van Gerwen. When I rewatched it this morning, you played well, averaged 90 plus, but he got the best of you there, 6-1. He is the world number one, the best of the best right now. Can you give us a sense of what it's like playing a man of his caliber? One of those things where every miss will be punished, right?
Yeah, definitely. That's why I was 50% on my doubles that day as well. I was really on that. But you don't get many chances against Michael. I started a bit slow. Traditionally, I always start games a little bit slow. I had this idea in my head that I was going to give him the bullseye. So I wanted to win the ball and then give him the throw. And then when I won the bullseye, we traded off with bullseye for I think 7 shots. And then I eventually won the ball. And he turned around to me and said, "Are you going to give me the throw?" So in my head, I didn't want to give him the throw anymore because he asked for it. So I think he beat me on the mind games there as well. And I'm normally quite good at those. So he beat me, I think, from before the games until after the game as well. He won all the way through. So I want another cracker. I want another go at that. So hopefully I'll pull him again soon because I think it'll be a lot closer next time.
Now, you do have a win against him a while back, but not everyone can say that, right? Do you relish a match, and it sounds like you do, against the world number one, treat it as a true test? I mean, some guys must say, oh shit, it's MVG, not him again.
Yeah, not me. I love that. I want to play the best on the biggest stages. I always want the big draw. I want the prime time slot. I want the spotlight. And he brings the spotlight. And there's nothing going to boost my career more than beating him on a big stage. So yeah, I'd relish the opportunity to play him again. Yeah, 100%.
I mean, it's interesting you talk about the mind games there. How much of that goes on, and how important is it? I mean, you've got to win those as well, because you mentioned it. It's a battle, and he won all the way through.
Yeah, I learned from that. I thought, like I said, I thought I was going to be clever. I thought I was going to get one up on him. I thought, win the ball, give him that. I remember Phil Taylor used to do that all the time. And it's not something that I'm worried about doing. I used to have a few mind games with Kim Hybrex, and he hit the bullseye a couple of years back in the Players' Championship at Barnsley. So I hit double six. I didn't even go for the ball. So I was just saying I'm not bothered about having the throw. I ended up actually losing that game 6-5, so I could have done with the throw in the end. But yeah, there's a lot. I think there's a lot of little mind games that go on. I'm not going to give away my secrets, but I've certainly come out with a few good ones over the years. Just a couple of little one-liners here or there always help the case. Yeah.
You know, it's funny because one of the commentators in that MVG match that I watched this morning, I mean, I watched it at the time, but I rewatched it this morning. He said that you've got a poker face. And you talk about these little tricks of the trade, the bluffs, the check raises. It happens in darts, too, and people don't always see that, right?
No, exactly. I think there's nothing worse than if you're playing well and you look at your opponent and then they're not giving anything away. They're not looking rattled. You want to see them rattled. You want to see the arms waving around, the head shaking. You want to see that because you're getting on top of them. But if they're just calm, you think, you still fancy this, and it does make a difference. And I do try and keep that level-headedness all the way through my games. I like to think of myself a little bit in the way like a watered-down version of Conor McGregor. If you look at Conor McGregor, he does all his talking, all his messing around, all his fun and games and everything he does before. But as soon as you get to match day, he looks like everybody else. He doesn't mess around. He doesn't do anything, but he's focused on his game and his match. That's exactly what I'm like. I'm not going to walk on stage and do a silly dance like some people do. When it's match day, it's match day. But beforehand, you've got Edgar TV, and I'm going to try and make the most of it and enjoy it before match day. But on match it's a different situation, yeah.
It's interesting. I love the UFC myself. You mentioned Conor McGregor. Talk about the run he had. And you're right. He really did a lot of braggadocio before the match. He almost had it won before he got in the ring. Look at what happened to Jose Aldo. 13 seconds. Jose was beat before the bell even rung.
Yeah, definitely. I thought he might have rattled Khabib on the same way on that theory as well. But I think McGregor he did go a bit too attacking in that. I think McGregor changed. Rather than drawing Khabib in, I think he went hunting for him. And, with what he did beforehand, he probably could have got Khabib on the hunt there. So, he got that one wrong. I think he'll openly admit that as well. So.
Well, I like the comparison, the octagon and the Yaki, because the PDC really is the mean streets of darts. It's kill or be killed. How do you approach it as a profession from the psychological aspect? You touched on it there with some of the mind games and how important it is to be on top of your game. It's not a regular paycheck, but the rewards are there if you can persevere. It's like the carrot is dangling. You just got to go get it. How do you approach it?
I've found it a lot more easy to approach now. I've sort of got my mind around the fact that you're going to get beat. The PDC is the top 128 players in the world. That's 128 heroes from wherever they're from. You've got the hero from Spain, the hero from South Africa, the hero from wherever you are from. You're the guy who wins everything in your area. And going from being the guy who wins everything and the guy who's untouchable to the guy who could lose first round 6 times on the trot throwing nearly 100 average, that takes some getting used to. And I think what actually does it well for you is when you sit down and you go, right, today in this room there is going to be one person who doesn't get beat. 127 other people are going to get beat. So it's my job to put my best product forward, and if someone beats that, fair play, they've done really well. But not to give anyone a cheap win and not to let anybody say they beat you when you haven't been yourself. That's the one that's hard to take. But once you get your head around that actually you can throw 100 average and lose, that's when it becomes a bit easier to start pushing forward, I think. And yeah, I'm at that stage now, like I say, where you go away for the weekend, you got 2 players championships, you think I'm going to get beat twice, but it's my job to put as many wins in as I can before then, and it's my job to put my average of my performance forward and just wait till someone's good enough to topple that.
Are you happy with where your game is right now? I think you're playing well. I enjoy watching you on the TV. I mean, what are some of your short-term goals in darts?
I've got to get in that top 64. I'm just outside at the moment. I want to keep moving forward, so I want to get in the World Championships again this year. I want to get in the Players' Championships. I need a little bit of a run to get in a couple of the other ones, but I'm not miles outside things like the Grand Prix. I just want to keep pushing forward. I like entertaining, so I want to entertain on and off the hockey, and I want to give myself the opportunity to play in more events and entertain more people. That's my goal all the way through. And along the way, if I can steal a title or 2 along the way, then happy days.
You know, the ebbs and flows of a darts match really fascinate me. A game of millimeters, one big shot can change the entire complexion. I know you worked as a sports coach with a football club, I believe. Any lessons that you've taught your players that carry over to the hockey? And in the heat of the battle, is it tough to follow your own advice?
Definitely. I'm very, very good at giving other players and friends advice, but I realise I don't take it on board myself a lot of the time. I think in a way that I need, and I've actually reached out and I've got a conversation going at the moment with an ex-professional who thinks he's spotted an error or a little flaw in my system, and he's going to be helping me out a little bit moving forward. So I'm looking forward to meeting up with him. That's going to help a lot. I think the thing with darts that's different, though, to football or other sports is it's a double whammy. It's like we say with football, like we've got the 6-point game, when you've got 2 clubs playing at the top of the league. Darts is like the 6-pointer all the time, because where you don't win a leg, your opponent does. And, the difference between that could be a 3-all draw or a 4-2 deficit between the difference of one leg. And I think that makes a big difference. You're not gaining, they are. Yeah, it's every leg's like a 6-pointer almost, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it really does, and it really is fascinating because there's a lot of pressure too. Game of millimeters, sometimes you just can't miss, and it's fascinating to watch the guys who step up and hit those important doubles. You've had a couple of good runs at the UK Open. Last year, lost a tough one to Steve West, 10-7. It must be a thrill playing in that kind of atmosphere. Your nickname suggests that you really like that.
Yeah, that game actually, Steve West took out two 170 finishes with me sat on finishes at the time, and that was the real difference in that game. And yeah, that's when you talk about the big pressure moments, and one shot can change a game. Those two 170 finishes are the talking point of that match. But yeah, I find it a lot more enjoyable playing on a stage in front of a crowd. The last European tour I played in an afternoon. And Friday afternoons on European tours are traditionally very quiet. And I think there was about 30 or so people in the crowd. And I don't enjoy that. You know, to me, I want to get on the big stages. I like the reward of that. I enjoy that. I don't feel an ounce of pressure or anything when it comes to the big stage games. If anything, I get a reverse from that. And that's something I've been working on, in the fact that before I would go to these matches and think that the big stage and the environment, that's going to do it for me, and that's going to get the heart pumping, and that's going to bring all these emotions out in me. But actually, they need to come from inside me, because I go to these matches and I'm very calm, and I find that actually I need to find a way to feel these emotions and feed off the crowd, rather than almost pitching myself either above or below it to the point where I'm not reacting. And I want to react, you know. I've got passes to theme parks. I love adrenaline, you know. In my spare time, I'm always going up and down the roller coaster somewhere. So this is free adrenaline for me. In fact, I'm getting paid to get adrenaline. So yeah, I should be loving it. So yeah.
Yeah, we forget that with the intensity comes a lot of enjoyment too, because you're going toe to toe every weekend, and that, for a lot of guys, is very enjoyable. You debuted at the Ali Pali back in December, a tough loss to Darius Labanauskas, who's proven to be quite the player. That's the big spectacle, right? The World Championship, the Ali Pali, all eyes are on it. What was that experience like for you?
Exactly what I just said a second ago, I think. Underwhelming in a way. I thought the experience was going to bring something out in me, and I needed to take something to the experience. I got that wrong. I got a few things wrong going into that. I was poorly leading into it. I lost about 2 weeks of my last 3 weeks preparation, and a lot of things went wrong going into that. And this year is all about getting back there, because I've got wrongs to put right. I'll be a completely different animal on that one. I'll be very aggressive going into that. I've got a lot of things to put right, and I hate what happened down there. I've not even watched the game back from the Ali Pali. I've got a couple of photos from the event that I keep. I gave my shirt away, my flights away. Literally, I didn't want anything to do with the event. I want to wipe it out of my memory in terms of a match, and I want to go back and put it right this year. That's the minimum requirement for this season for me. Get back to the Alexandra Palace and put that right, because I hate what happened there. It grinds on me, and it did. It ground on me for about 6 weeks afterwards. I was just the most miserable guy you've ever met, you know. And when you think we had Christmas involved in that as well, I didn't even put my tree up. I was that miserable, you know. I wasn't a happy guy. I think I sellotaped a couple of stars to the window, maybe put a bit of tinsel around a photo, but I wasn't happy, and I wasn't happy because I didn't. What I said at the start, where you've got to put your best product forward, and if it gets beat, you hold your hands up, shake the man's hand, and say fair play. I didn't do that. I felt I gave him that win, and the fact that Barneveld was in the next round, and it was potentially his last World Championship, I missed the opportunity for that spotlight moment that I really enjoy. So I wasn't happy with myself at all.
Well, I'll tell you what, I like where your head is at, because it's important to learn from your mistakes and look at yourself honestly. A lot of guys can't even do that, so I think that's important, and to keep that motivation there is also important. Now, on the topic of the World Championship, this is when you first launched Edgar TV, ahead of that appearance at the Palace. Your second video was ahead of your showdown with MVG and Minehead. Tell us about the origins of prime time of Edgar TV.
Well, I like being a bit silly. I'm considered by people that know me quite childish. My brother would 100% back that statement up. He thinks I need to rein it in a bit. But realistically, it was about me putting my stamp on what I want to do. I didn't want to just go and do what and try and be a face in the crowd and be what everybody else is. I wanted to be me. I wanted people to understand who and what I am, and I think that allows me to connect with people and people to see who I am and what I am, and also it allows me to move, hopefully, with the results and my status in darts and my ranking improving. It'll hopefully allow me to grab darts and move darts to where I want it to go, which is more of an entertainment as well, because how many times can you sit there and go, oh, so-and-so threw 100 average, oh, we hit a 12 darter, oh, there's been a 9 darter again this week, before people want that little bit more. And what I'm doing is putting the foundations in now for that little bit more that people can connect with. You know, again, we'll reference Conor McGregor. He brings in casuals to watch the fights because the stuff he does makes it people want to see him succeed and want to see him fail, whatever it is. And like with Edgar TV, you know, I've got some people that like it, some people that hate it. But as long as someone's got an opinion on it, I don't care. You can hate it all you want. You could send me hate mail week in, week out. I'd love that because you care enough about what I'm doing to react to it. And I want people to react to what I'm doing because, like I said at the start, I just want to entertain. I'm enjoying myself. And whatever I'm enjoying myself, you're going to keep seeing videos coming out. And whether they click the thumbs up or thumbs down, they're buying right into the vision. So keep doing it. Yeah.
I like that, buying right into the vision. You know, I'm a fan of the channel. I know commentator Chris Murphy has called it on the stream an acquired taste, but it's generated some buzz. It's gone international, right? This is a tweet from @Diversify, just talking about how cool Edgar TV is. Think it should have a regular slot on the Dart Show on Sky Sports, to which you responded, these guys clearly understand entertainment. I mean, it's getting some good buzz, and it seems enjoyable for you.
Yeah, they know their stuff, don't they? You know, good bands, you know, they clearly understand entertainment because they've got a good following. So, yeah, it's they're just showing the way, aren't they? Yeah, hopefully they'll guide other people into the Edgar Nation.
Now, you offer daily practice games. There's been some historic moments on your channel as well. Truly historic. Before we talk about the practice games, let's talk about you making history on Edgar TV. First of all, the world record.
Yeah, I was doing practice games. And I was doing a week's worth of games because I put a practice game out there and it went quite well. And a lot of people was asking for more. So I said, right, I'll do one every day this week, bar Wednesday, because I was going to watch Aladdin. And I did the best score in 60 seconds. And I had to go at it. The video I actually put out was my second go because the first one actually was about 10 points less, but I dropped a dart. And I let out a little bit of an expletive because I nearly got myself in foot. So I thought, I can't use that one, so I'm going to have to do it again. And actually, from that video, the world record I broke was actually an unofficial attempt. It was just me in my living room having a throw. But since then, I've actually now been granted an official attempt at that world record, which I'm going to be doing in the next week or so. And we're filming that as well for Edgar TV. So once I've done the official attempt, there's a 10-week process between when I do the attempt and when I can release the footage and with all the certification and everything. So hopefully, if I do pass the challenge and I do officially break the world record, then I will be releasing the footage from that in about 10 weeks' time. But off the back of that, I've also noticed there's quite a lot of world records in darts. So I'm actually going to be having a bash at quite a few of them. I've applied for, I think, 4 other world records. So hopefully by the time the Alexandria Palace comes around, I'll be able to release that footage because it takes about 10 weeks to get accepted to have an attempt at these world records. So hopefully by the time the Alexandria Palace comes around, I'll hopefully be a 5-time world record holder, which I think will probably make its way onto my shirt somewhere and probably be publicised all over Edgar TV every single episode.
Oh, this is amazing, man. You heard it here first. I love this because this is outside the box. You've spotted something and you're just going to go for it. And that's quite a title, right? World record holder. What, you scored 693? Did Corey Cadby have it before? What's the deal on that?
Corey Cadby had about 630 or something, which, you know, I'm not surprised I beat Corey. I beat him at most things anyway. So, I'm not surprised I beat him on that as well. I'm sure if he put something else out there, I'd beat him at that as well. So, yeah, make sure this bit stays in.
Yeah, it will. Okay, so
Yeah.
we look forward to that. We wish you luck on these world record attempts, and I can't wait to watch the video. Another historic moment on Edgar TV, and this was truly amazing. The 9-dart hero moment. Tell us about that. That was fascinating.
Yeah, well, everyone likes watching a 9-dart video, don't they? And actually, I remember watching, can't remember, it might have been a Premier League game or something, and someone had 5 darts into the 9-darter, and he missed the 6th dart, and the commentator, I can't remember who it was, turned around and went, "Oh, he's missed a 9-dart attempt." And I literally turned around to my friend who was sat on the sofa next to me and says, "But every left a 9-dart attempt, you know, from the first dart." And then if you look at the video before the 9-dart one, I do a commentate on me versus Michael Van Gerwen where I missed the first dart of the 9-dart combination, and then I'm like, damn it, you know, I've missed a 9-dart leg. You know, I didn't even get a dart into it. There's a couple of comments on it, and I was like, because there's a lot of people that, "Oh, have you got a 9-darter? Have you got footage of a 9-darter?" And I thought, you know what? If I mash a couple of videos together here, I might be able to do it. And then I started putting it together, and I'm like, this don't work because you can see the scores on the bottom. So I have to fold a bit of paper over and cover it up with this. But the bit of paper doesn't quite cover it. So you'll see, like, the second one, I was playing Christopher Tajski for that 180. But you can see next to Michael Van Gerwen's name, he's turned Polish for a shot. And I just thought, I've got to make this the most obvious thing ever. So, like, you'll see 1 minute I'm in a green shirt, then I'm in a blue, then I'm in a different blue shirt. And, yeah, like I say, it's just my sense of humour. I literally made that, and I was putting it out, and I'm laughing while I'm putting it out. And while it's going out, my friend's saying to me, he's like, "You realise you're doing this as a joke, but you're laughing, so technically you're laughing at your own jokes." And I'm like, well, if I can't make myself laugh, you know, who else can I make laugh? It was a good video, and that one actually got picked up quite a lot. I think it's nearly on 18,000 views, that one is. So, and it still gets regular traffic through that video now. So, yeah, I think the video to pick up on actually is I put one on. I was reading the newspaper, and they said they found this time traveller. And this time traveller has come back and he's done this interview and he's told people about what's going to happen. And I thought, what a load of tosh that is. But then I thought to myself, I could pick up on this. I could do a video myself. So I went to Poundland and I bought myself 2 fake beards for £1. So 50p beard. It looks awful. It's terrible. It's the most itchy thing in the world. And I did this video where I quoted the Busted lyrics from Year 3000 and I sat with a fake beard on. And ever since I've been getting emails, genuine emails, probably 2-3 A4 size pieces of paper long, from people who want to meet the time traveller or they want to use the time travel device. I got one message from someone saying how his life's gone so terrible since April 2016 and can I give him the opportunity to send him back to that point so he can have a second chance and all this. And I'm like, I didn't even put a voice on, I didn't mask it, I just sat in a 50p beard and people are buying into this. And I reckon I've had about 15, 20 messages from people and I'm like, wow, maybe I'm not the biggest idiot in the world, you know, maybe there's others out there.
Well, I tell you what, it's interesting content. With the 9-darter, for instance, I loved how you were in a different outfit every time. A wardrobe change between shots, and then the funny comment at the end when Simon, because you're playing MVG, but then all of a sudden Simon Whitlock's there, and you're like, Simon Whitlock came on stage for some strange reason.
Yeah, the thing is, right, I'm not very good at editing, you see, so I just use a little app on my phone. I don't know, so like I couldn't get him out of the way, and I don't like to do retakes, so I like it to be natural. So whenever I do a shot or a footage, I just run with it. So when he popped on, I'm like, oh no, what's he doing there? But yeah, everything's just done on one take. I don't retake anything, so it's very natural, and that was just one of those natural reactions. You know, oh, there's Simon Whitlock. You know, one of the things I do claim on social media is I put on there that I am the only guy to ever hit a 9-dart in 4 different shirts. So there's a challenge for other people to try and beat. It is an exclusive for you as well, actually. Special for you. Because we're talking about social media. Chris Murphy asked on one of the European tours on the commentary, he said on Twitter, Edgar refers to himself as a 25% world champion. What's the maths behind that? Well, The World Championship was a 16-day event. I went out on day 4, which means I was in the World Championship for 25% of the event, which is why I call myself the 25% World Champion. So, nice little exclusive there for you.
Well, it's interesting because great minds think alike. That was one of the questions I had. How do you get the 25%? So thank you for answering that. One of the other pieces of history on your channel, I found this one very fascinating. I retweeted this one. The exclusive interview that you had with Matilda, who you predict will be the first woman to win the PDC World Championship. I had never heard of Matilda before, but she is quite a player.
Oh yeah, the demos that you got there was incredible. I'm just laughing because I'm just picturing that video.
That took guts, my friend.
Yeah, I could. That took me some while. That really made me laugh that day. That was a funny video. Yeah. There's actually been quite a lot of people ask, and even going into the room at the Players' Championships, there's a lot of interest behind more content of that. Whether or not I'll ever do anything again on that, I don't know, but yeah, you can blame Snapchat for that. I see something and then my mind just runs away, and I just, I always find a way to child it up a little bit. Like I said, I just see something and my mind says, oh, that's a good idea, and I don't think again. So yeah, I think sometimes I might need to, because that one might be one of those situations where I might need to maybe have spoke to someone first and said, what do you think of this idea? And they might have tried to talk me out of it first, so yeah.
Well, she was quite the looker, I must say. Now, listen. What have you learned? What's the process been like for you of managing your own channel? It's relatively new. It must be very interesting.
Oh, I love doing it. Yeah, I literally just it entertains me, and even if people stop watching it, as long as I'm entertained by it, I'll keep doing it. Originally, I was like, right, I want to do this video, and then I'm like, but then what do I do? I've run out of content, so I won't be able to carry it on. But I can literally sit there now in an evening, and something will pop up, and I'm like, oh, I could do a video on that. I could literally knock content out literally every day, but I try and wind myself back a little bit because I don't want to go into overkill. But yeah, I've literally loved doing the videos, and there'll be a lot more still to come. I really enjoy it. It sort of gives me something to focus on as well, and something to, darts is, we are in a very, very serious world. Like I said, there's no guaranteed paychecks. It's all based on results. And like now, we've not got a tournament for another 2 weeks. I could sit around for these 2 weeks just stressing on the next tournament, or actually, you know what, I'll take a step back, I'll make some silly videos, I'll enjoy that time, and then when I go there, again, I don't find it as serious. I went to these European tours and I'm making silly videos when I'm out there. I'm not just sat around waiting for my games. I'm actually enjoying myself and, hopefully drawing people into that enjoyment as well. And it takes a bit of the shine, a bit of the serious nature away from it. And that wasn't doing me any good. I'm not a serious person. My brother, he's serious. Me, I'm not. I've always been a bit la-di-da with things. And this just helps me, live in a professional world and a serious world in my own way. So.
Well, I think the microphone gives it all away, that you're taking a lighthearted approach to this. I mean, what is that thing? I mean, that's funny in itself, and I think you're on the right path with this. You're making a name for yourself away from the hockey, and like Diversify says, I see it one day, with your name as a professional darts player, one day having your own slot on one of these big primetime shows on, regular TV. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm surprised it hasn't happened already, to be fair. I thought Sky Sports would be all over it by now, but, I'm open to sit down with producers, and see what they want to do. But so far the phone's not ringing yet. But, I say yet, it is my goal to make Edgar TV something special. When I first started it, they said, what's your big end goal? I said, right, I want to get millions of subscribers so that I can recreate Funhouse, which was a program I used to watch growing up. I want to make Funhouse. That's the big dream. I want to do an episode of Funhouse.
Well, I'll tell you what, man, I wish you luck. I love the channel. It's very interesting. It's funny. It's got humor, and I do appreciate your content, so thank you for that. Add the Edgar501 on Twitter, Edgar TV on YouTube. Please check it out if you haven't. Prime time to darts fans everywhere. Matthew, Edgar, thank you so much, man. Good luck and continued success.
Cheers. Thank you. Thank you.